Dinamo Zagreb with the comeback of all comebacks. Shaka Hislop joining me as we were treated to quite the spectacle between Dinamo Zagreb and Spurs. I mean, the job was there for Dinamo Zagreb to do, and they absolutely pulled it off thanks to a brilliant hat trick from Mislav Orsic. I mean, Shaka, I know a lot of what we're going to talk about is where it went wrong for Spurs. But before we get to that, just a word on the hat trick from this one man and how he was just able to pull it off.
Yeah, listen, a hat trick under any circumstances is worth celebrating. Orsic getting all three goals that decided this tie, and three very good goals. Let's make no mistake about it. Three really good finishes, in particular the third to seal it for Dinamo Zagreb. Credit to him, because this really was a standout performance in a standout tie against one of Europe's big boys.
And let's look at Spurs now, and of course, where it all went wrong, because we know that Jose Mourinho, someone's saying that this was probably his best chance at some silverware, which obviously has eluded Spurs even while Mauricio Pochettino was there. We know they are in the League Cup final and anything can happen, but it is against Manchester City, and that is going to see City go into that as favourites. So how would he be looking at this? How big of a blow to Jose's current tenure at Spurs was this loss tonight?
Listen, this is huge. Again, when you're talking about clubs like Spurs, it's either Champions League or bust. And granted, there may be six clubs in the Premier League, all trying to shoehorn themselves into a top four to claim as much. So to give yourself the option of winning the Europa League to get into the Champions League is a huge incentive. And given where we are in the competition, you think Spurs are looking at this quite keenly as a realistic opportunity. Granted, they have games in hand and others in the top four, and that closes the gap between them, and now it certainly keeps the gap within touching distance if they win the games in hand. That being said, you're playing against Dinamo Zagreb. You have a 2-goal lead after the first leg. Given the quality that Spurs is able to call on, and the experience of Jose Mourinho going into this one, you feel this was a real opportunity to, at the very least, go further in this competition. Yet still, and this is part Spurs, and we may very well pick on Spurs here, but give Dinamo Zagreb their credit for what they did in total contrast. Now, the first half was 45 minutes of football that maybe you prefer to forget. I thought it looked like two teams who were very aware that this game would be decided on the first goal. Spurs dominated possession over 60%, yet I don't think they had a shot on target to boast in the first 45. And Dinamo Zagreb just seemed kind of happy to play their part as long as it didn't concede. And then all of a sudden, the second half came. And I felt that Zagreb made the transition all the better. Spurs still just trying to protect that lead, had a couple of half chances themselves, then Zagreb takes the lead. And all of a sudden, you recognize the importance of that first goal in a game like today. Harry Kane had an opportunity to make it 1-1, but incredible save and good defending denied him. And then Orsic just went to work, and I felt that Zagreb always looked the better, always looked like they handled that shift from being defensive to being more attack-minded. Spurs, despite the changes, bringing on Dombele, bringing on Gareth Bale, weren't really able to find that cutting edge. And when they did, Livakovic continued to produce save after save, none more impressive than the save from Harry Kane deep into extra time to preserve that 3-goal lead.
Well, I mean, as usual, when you get losses like this, there's going to be a sort of post-mortem. There's going to be a back to square one. Where do we go from here kind of talk? I mean, a couple of months ago, we were talking about it going wrong for Spurs. Then it went so right for Spurs. And they went on a 5-match unbeaten streak. And then, of course, now this has been a tough week, losing the North London derby to Arsenal for the first time in a bit. And now a gutting blow like tonight. So where do they go from here? And, how much does Jose need to be looking over his shoulder?
That's a good question, Alexis. I'm not sure where they go from here. And listen, Jose Mourinho was brought in to succeed Mauricio Pochettino because he promised silverware. This wasn't about the style of football. This wasn't about being true to maybe some of Spurs' own traditions. This was about silverware. And given that the Cup final is against Manchester City, where they go in as underdogs, given their own position, or with games in hand, in the league, this was as good an opportunity as either of those two. Now that that has come to a crashing halt, and the fashion that it has, and the football that you witnessed, not just today, but almost throughout from Jose Mourinho's Spurs, especially against the bigger teams in the league, it leaves you questioning the decision and the direction. Maybe we're having a different conversation if they somehow upset the odds in beating Manchester City in that cup final. Maybe they win their games in hand, and between Chelsea or Leicester or Manchester United, somehow they go spectacularly off the rails in a way that we're not anticipating right now when they finish top four. And again, we're having a different conversation. But right now, you don't see either of those really happening. I'm not sure that if you're a gambling person, that's where you put your money. So as of right now, it's not a good look for Spurs. It's not a good look for Jose Mourinho, given what he promises.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.